Third oral question, Lord Moylan.
My Lords, I beg leave to ask the question standing in my name on the order paper.
My Lords, a working group bringing together representatives from policing and the Catholic Church has now concluded exploration on the issue of access to crime scenes for religious ministers. Decisions regarding access in such situations remain an operational matter. However, the College of Policing has now published revised guidance on managing investigations, reflecting those discussions and wider input. And as a result of those changes, we don't have any plans to pursue a multi-professional strategy.
My Lords, may I congratulate my noble friend and the Government on taking action on this delicate matter, which came to prominent attention at the time of the tragic murder of Sir David Amess. I welcome the new guidance, and it does recognise explicitly the convention rights of both the dying and their families in these emergency crime scenes. But it does remain, as my noble friend says, entirely an operational decision for the police. What mechanism is my noble friend going to put in place to ensure that the revised guidance does actually lead to a change in practice?
Well, I thank my noble friend for his congratulations, and at the moment I'm not subject to much congratulations, so I take it where I can get it. I totally agree with him. It might seem like a small step, but it's a huge step for many families who might have found themselves in the same position as Sir David Amess. And in terms of the guidance, I know it's being distributed to forces, and I know actually forces were keen to have clarity on what to do in such situations. But coming back to my first point, of course, it is an operational matter.
My Lord, we have two virtual contributions. Firstly, we will hear from Baroness Masham of Ilton.
My Lords, would the Minister agree that communication is vital? Will there be a list of priests with telephone numbers in each area who could be available if a priest was needed to give the last rites in serious injury?
I think that's a very interesting question. Obviously, where people and where priests might be in the case of a serious incident might not be entirely predictable, but it's certainly true that in circulating the guidance, police will now be far better informed how to go about these requests should they arise.
My Lord, virtual contribution from Baroness Harris of Richmond.
My Lords, I declare an interest as the former president of the National Association of Chaplains to the Police, which I helped to establish over 30 years ago. There were then only 2 or 3 chaplains in the whole country. Now there are almost 500, most of whom are volunteers who do a superb job helping and supporting the police service. So may I ask the noble lady, the Minister, will she ensure that Police Chaplaincy UK is fully supported by the government and will hopefully soon be enshrined into the Police Covenant?
Well, I don't think there's any doubt that the police chaplaincy service is fully supported by the government, and they provide such a vital service at some at critical times to people in need. In terms of further than that, I can't say, but what I will say to the noble lady, and I congratulate her on the work she does do, is that the government are fully in support of the service.
My Lords, this is a delicate area, especially when we're dealing with crime scenes or potential crime scenes. Nevertheless, does Her Majesty's Government have any plans to ensure how this information is going to be rolled out in training people who are going to be in charge of these scenes when they're happening? And is there going to be any monitoring to ensure that this is going to be available? It is a fundamental religious principle for many people about the sacrament of the last rites. So if we can have some assurance this is going to be monitored.
Well, I'm sure it will be monitored for the very reason that we need to be very clear that the police should be able to do the job that they have to do at the scenes of what might be quite critical incidents, and they need to have that freedom to make those judgments. but also mindful of the wish of people who might want to have a priest or religious leader with them at the time of critical illness or nearing death. So I would say to the Right Reverend Prelate, there's certainly, I think, further learning to be done on this, but I think it's a very welcome step forward.
My Lords, has thought been given to arranging for all of us to carry something similar to a kidney donor card in this context? One of the saddest aspects of that appalling murder of Sir David was that he was denied the last rites. He was a devout Roman Catholic. He would have expected to have them. If we could have a degree of coordination so that all of us, if we wish, can carry such a card, perhaps that could be of some help.
Well, I will certainly take that suggestion back.
My Lords, last month, as the Noble Lady the Minister said, the College of Policing updated its guidelines to allow for the attendance of ministers of religion at the scene of a crime, where appropriate, following a collaborative effort led by the Metropolitan Police and the Archbishop of Southwark. Can I ask the Noble Lady the Minister what steps the government will be taking to review this decision and ensure that there are no unintended consequences of this welcome step? And I note that a number of other questions made by the Noble Lords have been about reviewing this decision and monitoring it to make sure it's properly implemented.
Well, I think the Noble Lord and other members of the House are absolutely right, because we do not want any unintended consequences from this guidance, which has been developed very quickly, I might say. Unintended consequences like contamination of a scene, which might therefore impede a criminal investigation. So, like all things that we do, we will review them. But I'm very happy to come back to the House in future months and see